So what do we have left? Well, capital gains. Okay, everything's nice and clean. So let's go ahead and get the capital gains in there. So how do we want to approach that? Well, let's start with a test. So the rule with capital gains is that you can withdraw your principal, so that whatever money you spend on stocks, you can just take out. But any money you made from appreciation of those stocks is taxed at some rate. I believe the rate is 25%. And once again, I need to emphasize I'm not a financial advisor. I'm really not actually an expert at this at all. What I've learned from Google and the web and so forth. This is not financial advice. Do not take it as financial advice, and do not sue me for taking it as financial advice. Thank you very much. Okay, so my understanding of capital gains, which could well be very, very wrong, is that you can take out whatever you put in, but if you make money on your investments and you take that out, then you're taxed. So how do we want to approach that? I guess what we can say is we can say can withdraw principal without incurring capital gains tax. So now I guess we're going to get our withdraw method back in there, aren't we? Create a new account. May have been premature on that new account method. Let's see, savings account year equals new savings account year. We'll come back and fix that up. I'm going to say that we've put in 10,000 with an interest rate of 10. Okay, that's fine. And if we withdraw $5,000, our ending balance should equal 5,000. And let's not withdraw an even number. Let's withdraw 2,000 or even 1,000 so that our expected value doesn't match the amount we withdrew, just to prevent any funky bugs. That doesn't really do much for us, but I guess that's good enough for now. If we do nothing here, that test should fail. And you know what? Our ending balance is not going to be 9,000. It's going to be, it is going to have interest. Now, if we said there was no interest rate on it, then it's going to say expected 9,000 but was 10,000. Let's start with that, but that's actually not good enough. I think we need to figure out how we want this to work with interest rate. What I did in my spreadsheet was that I had all the withdrawals happen at the beginning of the year and all the deposits happen at the end of the year. And this was just because I'm extra pessimistic. And that means that I don't get the benefit of interest on anything that I deposit throughout the year. And I get the penalty of withdrawals at the beginning of the year. And this gives me a model that's fairly pessimistic. In the beginning, I did it right in the middle of the year, but then I got sort of this, when I was running out of money in retirement, I was getting these little piddly $3 of interest that was causing the account to never clear out. So I changed it to just do the withdrawals at the beginning of the year, deposits at the end of the year, and that works pretty well. So I think that's what I want to do. So what that means is that the ending balance for this year should be 10% of 9,000. Yeah, let's do that. So we withdraw 10,000, we withdraw 1,000, that gives us a balance of 9,000. And then we gain interest on that 9,000, which is $900. So we end up with a final balance of 9,900. And I think we can code that by just modifying the starting balance by the amount. Yes. Okay, so let's be really explicit about that and not make this about with capital gains tax. Let's say that withdrawing funds occurs at the beginning of the year. Now, I'm not going to do deposits just yet because I do want this to be about capital gains. I guess what we need to do is we need to say withdrawing more than principal incurs capital gains tax, which means that we need some way of telling this what our capital gains was. Let's say that $7,000 of this is capital gains. You can really see that primitive obsession. I mean, what are all these numbers? It's just, bleh. Okay. What that means that if we withdraw 3,000, then we're going to have 7,000 with ending balance, 7,000 with 10% interest gives us an ending balance of 7,700. But then if we withdraw more than that, let's say we withdraw 5,000 more, now we've got 2,000 in the bank, 2,200, 2,000 times 200 plus 200 in interest minus capital gains tax on that 5,000. So 5,000 times, let's say, 25%. Now this isn't going to compile at all. We've got this new capital gains number, but this is just sort of a way of getting it in there. So I'm going to toss this in. We'll come back and clean this up in a moment. Again, you can see the pattern happening here. What I do is when I'm trying to figure out an idea, I just sort of hack it in, and then as the idea becomes more clear, I clean up the code. So we're just going to hack this in for now. And let's say that capital gains so far. First, we don't need the initializers. Okay, so this is failing. This test is really bad. It just doesn't really speak clearly, but I'm going to leave it in for now and try to get it to work and then figure out how to fix it. And I don't know what I'm going to do there yet, but I'm sure I'll think of something. So to implement the capital gains, I think what I want to do is let's actually back up a little bit. Okay, so we have passing tests. I think it might be interesting just to ask the question of how much of this amount is principal and how much is capital gains. So let's start with that. That's principal. And principal. So if we put $7,000 principal or capital gains, then the principal amount should be pretty straightforward. And I think what we need to do actually here is probably call that starting principal, otherwise what happens when we draw stuff. But anyway, we start 2000, and just return starting balance minus capital gains amount. Yes. I don't trust that. So we know my tests? Yes. Okay. Now let's bring this to starting principal. Okay, and let's move that up. Here. Alright, now that we've got that, so we can ask the question that if we have a starting principal of 3,000, and then we withdraw some, so we withdraw 2,000, what's our principal going to be? And that should be 1,000. I don't know if all of this is necessary, but it does seem to be breaking down the problem nicely. Oops. So if it needs to be cleaned up, I will do that. Still have that niggling little primitive obsession. I'm leaving it in because I don't know what I'm doing. As you've surely discovered by now, I don't know what I'm doing. No, what I mean is that I don't know where this code is going, and if I lock in too much into objects at this point, then it will make it harder to change. But if I wait too long to change those integers into actual objects, then going through and fixing it all up is going to be more of a pain. So it's a balancing act. Hopefully I'm hitting it right. So ending principal expected 1,000, but was 0, which is because I've hard-coded this. So here's an interesting question. What if, rather than having withdraw subtract an amount, what if we keep track of how much we withdraw throughout the course of the year, which will raise the question of multiple withdrawals in a year. Let's just mark that as to do. Let's see if I can code this up. Right now we should have a failing test. We're expecting 1,000 was 0. I guess what I'm going to do, just to get this to pass, is, it's not very complicated, but I'm trying to figure out how to do it in small steps. Let's just do this. This, withdraw equals now. Withdraw down, let's make that 2. There we go. 0. That's not going to work yet, because I haven't... Ooh. Boy, I broke something else. Yeah. Let's fix that. Okay. So ending principal expected 1,000, but was 0. Ending principal is going to equal starting principal minus withdrawn, or withdrawn. Which raises the question of plus. No. Okay, what did I do wrong? Oh, well that's because we're modifying the starting balance. So if I take that out, Now that one should pass, which it does, but now this withdrawing funds occurs at the beginning of the year fails. So the ending balance should be this start numbers of the balance, and then start minus equals total withdrawn, and then start. I don't know if that worked. Let's find out. It worked. Okay, good enough. So the starting balance is immutable. This is actually good. I kind of want this class to be immutable. It just feels right. So the amount, or somewhat immutable, obviously this isn't really an immutable part, but the starting balance doesn't change as we withdraw. So let's rename this. Okay, so I think that's right. Well, let's just rename this to be balance that gets interest. And it's not really true. I'm going to rename this again to modified start, and then clean it up a bit more by saying starting balance minus total withdrawn. Okay, that should work. Yeah. Okay. So there's also the question of any principal when more than principal withdrawn. Let's see, any principal never goes below zero. So we have savings account here, and we assert equals, and we withdraw. So we have starting principal 3,000, withdraw 4,000, then any principal should be 0. And it was minus 1,000. So the result equals that, and then we're going to return result greater than 0. We will return result, otherwise we will return 0. Okay, that should work. Yeah, and then it turns around actually. Yeah, what are we doing that? Floor. No, min. Greater of 2 double values. Does that read more clearly? Well, it does if you're used to spreadsheets and they use the max function all the time. And it would allow me to do this. You know what? I don't actually think that reads more clearly. Yeah, it's a wash. We'll call that good for now. So there's our ending principal. Let's see if we can deal with multiple withdrawals in a year. That shouldn't be working because I intentionally didn't code it up yet. I wanted some tests around that to make sure that I did it right rather than just putting it in without any tests. And we're definitely have to clean up the tests in here too. Let me make a note on that. All right, let's see if I can get this test in real quick before the end of the video. So we'll draw 2,700 total 7,000 means our ending balance is 7,700. Run that test. If it fails, it was 800 second over it, and plus sign there, and there. Pass. All right. I think that will have to do for this video. I feel like I'm sneaking up on this capital gains tax thing, and after I clean this up and haven't had a chance to really look at it, maybe that will happen in the next video. I think we'll see that this is starting to come together really cleanly. Pretty soon, once we get the capital gains in, I think we're getting pretty close to doing something more than just this one class. This has been kind of basic TDD so far, but it is real. I'm not dumbing it down or anything. I'm showing you what I really do. It's just that starting on a small project, when a project starts out, it is, by definition small, and so we're doing small things. That's kind of a nice way to ramp up, but we will get into UI, we're going to get into a lot of stuff. As I was reviewing the last video, it occurred to me that the way we're looking at these withdrawals, by having it figure out the ending balance, that's not really clear. What we want to do, I think, for multiple withdrawals in a year is just look at the total withdrawals. And let's just try that. Let's see if we say what we expect is the total withdrawals would be 3,000. Let's just write that. We'll fail. And let's pass. And let's make this match. Okay. Let's not have this talk directly to the variable. That's just a little bit of cleanliness so that if I ever do change the way total withdrawn works, I'll put the code here and not have to change it everywhere else. Let's test the case of capital gains withdrawn. See, now we're getting close to this capital gains tax. If we can know how much of the capital gains we withdrew, then we can know how much to tax it. Then it's quite simple. We start out with $7,000 in capital gains. It's interesting that I've put in capital gains here rather than principal. And the reason I did that is because that's the way my spreadsheet works. It keeps track of the total capital gains. But I'm not sure if that's really what I want to do, but that's okay. For one thing, I'm putting in the starting principal just to make the test easier to read. It shouldn't be necessary. So if I withdraw 2,000, then the total capital gains withdrawn should be 0. It's going to pass. I just put in 0 as a placeholder. It will pass because that is actually the right answer. You know what? Let's not do it that way. Let's withdraw 4,000 so we can have a failing test and assert that $1,000 was the total capital gains withdrawn. And capital gains withdrawn is going to equal, it's going to be like any principal. It's going to be the starting principal minus the total withdrawn times minus 1. I think. Let's take a look at that. No. Expected 1,000. No. Ending principal. Ending principal. No. So our starting principal is 3,000. We withdraw 4,000, and we should have 1,000 capital gains withdrawn. But instead, what's this? But instead, 7,000. I just do this. What is it? Expected 1,000, but what's minus 1,000? We need to minus 1 times the whole thing. Just a silly little math there. Okay, there's our green bar. So now I'm going to put in here, draw 1,000, and insert equals 0. And here we'll draw 3,000 equals 4,000, and there we go. So expected 0 was minus 2,000. Right, perfect. So same old thing. Int result equals that. Return result less than 0. Less than 0. That should pass. Right. Okay, let's do that next time. Sorry, so pass 0 result. Pass 0 result. Yeah. Now we've got capital gains withdrawn. I think, you know what? I think I want to change this around so that this is principal and not capital gains. Let's take this principal out. We're starting principal. And this starting principal will equal starting principal. Capital gains is going to equal starting balance minus starting principal. And so hopefully that will cause everything to just work. But no. Well, of course, I have to flip all these around. So let's just do it. So replace 7,000, 3,000. Yeah, okay. I think we can actually implement the capital gains tax. Let's do it this way. Capital gains tax incurred. Oh, before I do that, sorry, I just have to clean up this code. Now that I've switched over to starting principal, I don't need to declare starting principal all the time because it's right there. I am going to have to come back through this and look at the test a little more closely. So now, capital gains tax incurred should just be, if I have a savings account and I withdraw 5,000, I should have withdrawn 2,000 in capital gains, and I should have incurred some amount, so let's say 25%, so 2,000 times 25% is 500 in capital gains tax incurred. Should be, let's pass that tax rate for now. All right. Okay, and I expect that to be 500 or 0. This should be really easy. I should just be able to say capital gains withdrawn times tax rate divided by 100. And it works great. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying sneak up on the problem. Now, capital gains tax is included in ending balance. Of course, considered. No, included, ending balance. Do this exact same thing again. And we should say that we withdrew 5,000. We started 10,000. We withdrew 5,000. And we withdrew 500 in capital gains tax. Did I do that right? I don't know. Well, this isn't going to work because I haven't included capital gains tax in it. So 4,500 was 5,500. Well, also I need to. So 10,000 minus 5,000 minus 5,500, 4,500 plus the 450 interest. So expect 4,950 plus 5,500. So let's see about that. The ending balance, we're going to have to pass in that tax rate. And that's going to just mess everything up. Let's see what happens. We'll go to that. We'll take in our int capital gains tax rate. That is going to blow up everything. I think I see a lot of cleanup in our next video. Capital gains tax rate. Yeah, lots of coming up. Here I am hacking again. I do that a lot. You've probably noticed. Okay, expected 4950 but was 5500. That's because we just passed in the value, but we haven't actually done anything with it yet. The ending balance is going to be modified start. Is going to be start balance minus total withdrawn minus capital gains withdrawn. Or capital gains tax incurred with that capital gains tax rate. Which does raise the question. Alright, hold on a second. There we go. That does raise the question about I think we actually have to withdraw enough to cover our capital gains, and then that means we have to calculate our capital gains in reverse. I seem to remember doing that for my spreadsheet. That's a whole nother wrinkle that we're not going to hit today. Now we did cover the test that we were going to test. I'm going to just put in a little to-do here to say that capital gains tax included inbounds need to withdraw enough money to cover capital gains tax. That money will also be taxed. All right. Taxes, lots of fun. It's an interesting problem. Well, sort of interesting. When we left off last time, we had just finished getting a basic capital gains tax calculation in place. But as you can see right here, we didn't actually do it right. And let me show you what I mean by this. If we have capital gains tax of 1,000, or if we have 1,000 in capital gains and we withdraw it, and we're paying 10% capital gains tax, then 10 times 0.10 is 100. But then we've now withdrawn $1,100. So we also need to pay capital gains on that 100. So that's 100 times 0.10 equals 10. And then we have to pay capital gains on that, and that's 1, and so forth. So in the end, we end up paying $1,111. We end up withdrawing $1,111, and we pay capital gains tax of $111. Now, when I did this in my spreadsheet, I solved this problem, and I actually I have no idea how I came up with this, but it's actually pretty straightforward. If you take your 1,000 that you're withdrawing and you divide it by the inverse of the capital gains tax, that is going to equal the right amount. Normally, of course, in Agile development, you have a domain expert, you have a subject matter expert as part of the team, and they're providing these equations and you're coordinating with them. So capital gains tax incurred is needs to cover capital gains withdrawn and the additional capital gains withdrawn to pay capital gains tax. So we're withdrawing 5,000. That's 2,000 in capital gains withdrawn, which means that the correct answer here, assuming a capital gains tax incurred, is 2,000 divided by 0.75 minus 2,000, or 666. We're just going to cut that off. So let's run that test. There we go. Expected 666 was 500. So let's fix our savings account year calculation. Capital gains tax incurred is going to be capital gains withdrawn divided by 1 minus the tax rate. Oh great, here we go again. 100 minus the tax rate. We'll just hack away at this and see how we can make it work. Of course, the problem is I'm using integer math rather than floating point math, and that makes things all kinds of wonky. So capital gains tax withdrawn divided by 100 minus the tax rate. Let's see, that's not the right answer. Let's see what happens. Well, it's getting closer. What was that formula again? It's 1,000 minus, so minus capital gains withdrawn. Okay. Oh, that is just so wrong. Okay, let's figure this out. Well, let's just use floating points for that and see what that gets us. So tax rate cut 100 was 0. So I did 666 minus 1,999. All right, let's just do it this way. Double tax rate. Tax rate, yes, exactly. Okay, is that gonna work? Maybe. 666 was 6,000. Oh, and I somehow lost my 1 minus along the way. Expected 500 was 666. Okay, that's the correct answer, but somehow it's so right here. Capital gains tax is included. Ending balance. It's not right at all. Okay, everything else is working. So it's just the test that's broken, and this was kind of a grody test anyway. Yes, I did just say grody. Let's do it this way. Our starting balance after withdrawals should equal. That's all I expected. Sorry. I use these really long names, especially like this one, in my tests because I'm never going to type it again, and I really want it to be clear what's going on. So expected starting balance will be 1,000 minus amount withdrawn minus expected capital gains tax. Yes. Amount withdrawn is going to be here, and the expected capital gains tax is here. And our expected result is going to be expected starting balance after withdrawals times 1.25. Expected 5,417, but was 4,767. The 25% tax rate was 4,334 times, but we're getting 4,767. Starting balance minus total withdrawn. Is this another rounding issue? Yikes. Interest rate. Oh, well, there's the problem. Our interest rate isn't 1.25, it's 10%. Yeah. Okay, so the error was in my test. Now we should have, so we've done this to do, and I think we're done with this. We've withdrawn more than the principal incurs, withdrawing more, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, I think we've done that now. That reminds me, earlier I said that I deleted this, but I hadn't. Next time, cleanup. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.